Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Reborn Football Podcast. I'm Tans and I'm here with.
Fuego.
And as usual, before we get into the football portion, we're going to start with today's verse of the episode. This is episode 24, I believe.
Yeah,
So
episode 24.
I'll let Fuego take it away.
Perfect. So today's verse of the episode, it's three verses today, are Matthew 6, verses 16 to 18. And I'm reading from the New Living Translation. So it says, "And when you fast, don't make it obvious as the hypocrites do, who try to look pale and disheveled so people will admire them for their fasting. I assure you, that is the only reward they will ever get. But when you fast, comb your hair and wash your face. Then no one will suspect you are fasting except your Father, who knows what you do in secret. And your Father, who knows all secrets, will reward you." So, I kind of chose this verse because I've been reading around things to do with fasting for the last while. As we're kind of like in the beginning of the year. Today is January the 17th, if I'm correct. Time is flying, but it's the 17th of January, and around the start of the year, a lot of people, a lot of Christians, not everybody, but a lot of Christians kind of partake in fasts to kind of, the idea of a fast is to deprive yourself of something that you normally would do or normally would like to do. Most of the time, it's in the form of not eating food for a certain portion of the day. But obviously, there are many different fasts. Like you could fast in terms of only eating vegetables, which people call the Daniel fast. You could like fast social media. The idea is just to kind of like deprive yourself and your flesh in particular of its own pleasures that are not necessarily wrong, but things that just come to you naturally. And the idea there is to put the flesh under and to put your flesh in subordination to your spirit and build up your spirit, man. So the point that this verse is kind of making here, it's talking about not making it obvious that you're fasting, in the sense that you don't go around kind of sulking or kind of looking like, oh, I'm weak because I'm fasting, and everybody's looking at you and they're like, oh yeah, that person is really kind of, they're deep into their fast and all of that stuff, because that's the only reward, as the Bible says, that person gets. But it's saying the correct way to fast, and it's Jesus who is actually speaking in this passage. He was saying to comb your hair, wash your face. Some other versions will say like anoint your head with oil, which is what they would do in that time to kind of just like basically to style their hair. But the point being, make sure that you're looking fresh. Don't make it seem as though you're suffering in any way. And I'll touch on something in a second about this, but don't make it seem as though you're suffering in any way, because God will see that you're making a sacrifice, you're putting your flesh under so that your spirit can grow, but you're not doing it for show. Basically, don't do these things for show. And it doesn't just apply to fasting, as I was saying to you earlier, that it applies to anything that you're doing in terms of like, even like your service to God. Like say, for example, it's a big sacrifice for you to maybe go to church one Sunday because you're missing out on, I don't know, time and a half pay at work, for example. You don't go around telling people that, oh, guys, I could be on work, but, I'm just here because I really want to serve God. God's not going to reward that type of service. Here it's saying that you have your reward. People know that you're making a sacrifice. But when God sees that in secret, in the secret place, basically, as it's saying here, that he will reward you openly. So I think the one thing that I wanted to say just before I let you give your take on it was that I was talking to a close friend recently, and this verse came to mind, where people sometimes take this verse out of context and say, oh, so does that mean that I can't tell anybody that I'm fasting? Like say, for example, a lot of the time, sometimes it will feel awkward that you're in the lunchroom at work and everybody's eating at 1 o'clock and you're not eating. They're like, oh, why are you not eating? And you're like, maybe you feel awkward to tell them that you're fasting because maybe you feel like you shouldn't be telling people that you're fasting because the Bible says so, or you just don't feel like telling them, and you either succumb and just eat, and maybe you're gonna have to add that to your fast, or you just missed that day, or you feel bad for telling them that you're fasting, or you go somewhere else while everybody is having lunch. And I don't believe that that's the way that we're supposed to behave. That it's not saying you can't fast. It's not saying that you can't tell people that you're fasting, but you don't go around with a countenance as though you're fasting because you want people to see that, oh, I am fasting. If you need to mention it for whatever reason,
mention it.
Yeah, exactly. You should mention it because that's just normal. I don't think Jesus is calling us to hide that we're fasting. It's that we're not supposed to put on a show that we're fasting. So I think I've said quite a bit. So
No, that's not everything you said was making sense, especially that last bit as well, because it's about heart posture. You know,
100%.
for of course it might not always be this simple, but for such a situation like that, I would say, you know, as simple as it can get. You know, don't go around telling people, but if they ask, then or if they ask why you're not eating, tell them that you're fasting. You know, it's not a secret. It's you. The reasons why you do it should be between you and God, but the fact that you're fasting doesn't have to be a secret in itself.
Yeah.
And even going back to what you were saying about you know, if you go around, you know, looking disheveled and looking, you know, for people to know that you're fasting and you've already received your reward by the, you know, the praise and the applause that you're giving you. I was actually thinking, it's like, you know, in a way, if you are looking for praise and you know, praise and validation from other humans, you're looking to feed your flesh in a way, which actually kind of defeats the purpose, because you know that is a fleshly thing, looking for the approval of man.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know it's a thing where, like, you know, it has to be between you and God. That's why I was actually having a conversation with my mom recently. Now, I don't know, I'm not going to make any, you know, generalizing statements, but even the whole thing of, you know, everyone come and fast together, like we should all agree to fast. For me, in my opinion, fasting is something that you do, you know, you think, you know, you maybe someone indicate, one person comes and say, you know, I want to fast, would you like to join me? Or, you know, you're praying to God and God gives you the, you know, the thought on your heart that you should fast. You know, fasting is a very sacred thing. And, you know, I'm very new to fasting, so I'm not talking like I'm such an expert. You know, I only just did my first kind of like multi-day fast a few weeks ago, because I've just been late to it. You know, it happens like that. You know, I felt like I needed to do it myself to improve, you know, my relationship with God. And yeah, you don't go around telling people, but, you know, my mom was wondering, so I told her. You know, it's just mainly heart posture, not looking for the pride and approval, for not looking to feed your pride and looking for the approval of others, and making sure that whatever you're doing is between you and God, and there's a purpose. That's actually the one thing I wanted to say as well, that there's a purpose. There must be a purpose to your fasting. You must, if you're just, for example, eating, because that's the one that everyone knows. If you're just not eating, but nothing else about your life is changing, I'm so sorry, you're just starving yourself.
No, 100%.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, you're just starving yourself. You know, like, there has to be, okay, you fast, but maybe it doesn't even have to be anything drastic. Maybe you decide that you want to fast, you're new to fasting, you say, okay, I'm going to fast, and, you know, maybe I don't read my Bible, so I'm going to read the Bible for 20 minutes today as part of my fasting. Yeah. God will look upon that favorably. But if nothing else about your life changes, then I'm so sorry, as I said, you are just starving yourself.
Yeah, there's something that my pastor has actually said in the past. He said that, look, if you're fasting and you're not praying, you're fasting and you're not reading your word, you're basically just on hunger strike. And if anything, like, why would anybody go on hunger strike for any reason?
For no reason. Even in the world, you know, people don't just go on hunger strike. There's a reason.
Exactly.
You know,
so that's very important. And one thing that you did point out there, that I've never actually thought of it this way, that when somebody goes out and wants everybody to know that they're fasting, they're actually looking for approval from others. And that is the reward, as the Bible says. But it's just interesting to actually look at it that way, that's actually going directly against what we're trying to do achieve, by fasting, which is put the flesh under and allow the Spirit to take control, and in particular the Holy Spirit to take control. So, you know, it's different. So
have a purpose with your fasting. You know, if you're strong in your prayer, you know, maybe focus on a specific thing that, you know, you want God to try and do in your life. And yeah, just all about heart posture. As Fuego said, we're not, you know, it doesn't mean that you can't tell anyone that you're fasting. You know, it doesn't even mean that you can't feel a little bit of pain, or, you know, maybe it's actually been a long day and you're fasting and you are genuinely just tired, not looking for anyone's approval. You know, it doesn't mean, you know, God doesn't see it that way. It's all about what's in your heart, and God searches the heart. So you know yourself that is genuine. You know, there's no need to worry about what anyone else thinks.
Yeah. So I think we'll move on to the football portion of today. But that thing about the fast, very, very powerful. I'd say that reading even just around that scripture as well, if you so wish you should, because Jesus drops a lot of gems in Matthew 6 and a little bit further on as well. Not just on fasting, but just in general, just how we should be living our lives. So yeah, moving on from that, we'll move into the football portion. Obviously, I think this is maybe a week and a half, almost 2 weeks since the last episode that we recorded.
Yeah. I think we recorded on the 3rd. I might be wrong though. Oh no.
Actually,
We recorded before the new year. I think we dropped on the 3rd.
Yeah, we recorded pre-New Year.
Yeah.
But obviously, since the time we've recorded and since the time this is the last episode was released, the transfer window was opened, and there's some quite a few interesting things that have gone on in the transfer window. For my team personally, Manchester City, and then obviously just in general as well. But maybe you can start us off with.
I'll let you talk about Man City because you're best place to talk about it.
But
in general, I think PSG are looking to sign Kvaratskhelia. I think I've pronounced that right.
It's very difficult to pronounce.
Yeah,
I showed his name to my mum this morning and she butchered the pronunciation. But
I mean,
anybody will.
Yeah, everybody will. I think that's even the first time I've ever pronounced it right. I usually just say Caradonna because that's what they call him in Napoli from that season when he led them to the Scudetto. But yeah, that's looking coming into play. Jaden Philogene from Aston Villa to Ipswich.
That's weird because Villa signed him in
and that's a permanent transfer, like 20 mil or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
To be fair, I feel for Philogene. Like, he was really talented. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with HITC7s. He's a YouTube channel, and he's a massive Hull fan. And he was on loan at Hull last season from Aston Villa, and he was just talking about him like he was just an amazing, like, not on loan. He went there at Hull, but he was at Aston Villa initially, so I think it was a buyback clause.
Okay.
I think I might have to check that, but I'm pretty sure it was a buyback clause. But anyway, he was at Hull last season, and he was doing. He won the Puskas, didn't he? Or was it someone else? No, Garnacho won the Puskas.
Yeah, but he was nominated. He was nominated.
He nominated for that the Rabona.
Yeah. And I don't know about that nomination because technically that shot wasn't on target.
I don't know, because every time I see it, because when I saw it first, I was like, that had to have taken the deflection. But then it's like, okay, they credited the goal to him. Like they
officially it's his goal.
That's not Hull's job to credit the league. Like a league of championship stature would have, like, the Premier League, like, dubious goals panel. They'll go and look at the goal and see whether it's an own goal, there's a goal. So if they gave it to him, then
I mean, these times, even if it wasn't on target, when you see that type of solo run and that type of shot, sometimes the dubious goal panel will not. They won't look at it like that.
I would like, to be fair, I actually, you know what, if I was on the panel and I'm seeing that goal, I'm seeing everything that he did, the Rabona, I'll just say, I'll just close my eyes. It was a goal.
These times, you even be thinking about that. This is Puskas worthy. Let's allow the championship to get a little bit of fame, a
little bit of clout. But anyway, back to Philogene.
Yeah.
He had a really good season with Hull last year. HIT said maybe a bit of Hull bias, but he was saying that to be fair, a bit of Hull bias, but in general, like, he knows ball, and he was saying that he's really, really talented, that he could make it to the England squad. And when the first little couple appearances for Aston Villa this season, I was seeing some bright things, but I just feel like the Premier League move was a tiny bit too early. Because maybe Ipswich might be the right thing for him, because Ipswich is barely Premier League level. Barely.
I don't even know if I would call them Premier. They're a bit weird. Sometimes they'll show out.
They look good, yeah. Like, I think they're the best of the promoted teams.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. But that relegation, those group of people that are fighting for relegation. We'll talk about Southampton another day, but everyone apart from them, like, it's barely Premier League level, So I feel like that could be a level, for him to start with, because I still feel like he has a lot of talent, that he can go really far in the game. I just think the Premier League level, Aston Villa, Champions League level, that's a different, that's a different kettle of fish to Ipswich and Hull. So I feel like this could be a good move for him. I mean, Hutchinson doing well over there, Liam Delap as well doing really well over there. So even what's his name? Is it Leif Davis, left back, doing really well over there. So it could be a nice little environment with again, Ipswich do play smart, positive football. You know, it's not, you know, he'll get some opportunity to show what he's capable of. So yeah, I think that's a really good move for Philogene. I do think the Premier League move was a little bit too early. Yeah. I think you never know, but I think staying one more season with Hull, you know, being the big man in the Championship would have done wonders for us. You know.
Speaking of Aston Villa as well, they've just signed Daniel Malen from was he still at Dortmund?
Yeah,
he was
Dortmund.
Still at Dortmund, yeah.
Hayland graduate, and we're playing them this weekend. I've seen the script.
But yeah, no, I think he's a very positive player as well.
Yeah,
he's played very well in recent kind of years for the Netherlands, kind of breaking in there as well. So we'll see how he does in England at, I guess, senior level now. But yeah, that's another interesting one in terms of signings on Aston Villa's side. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. I might actually just kind of pivot to City real quick. I woke up this morning to hear that Erling Haaland has signed a 9.5 year contract.
I thought that was only Chelsea thing, you know.
I was like,
whoa.
Wait. A few months ago, I was hearing he wants to put a release clause in his contract, and I'm like, okay, first they'll bump his money up for a little bit, and then he'll get his release clause, and in a few years he'll move on. They said the release clause is undisclosed at the moment, is active from 2029.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
And he's on 500k a week, which is like, he's the highest, I believe, as far as I remember, the highest paid Premier League player of all time.
That must be, yeah. That must be.
I just found it so crazy. I was like, this can't be real. Why are they saying that Haaland has signed like a 10-year contract? That doesn't make sense. But I think what must have happened, this is my own personal opinion, it's not gospel, but I think it was the thing of, it's a push and shove thing for City and his camp in terms of, I want a release clause. We don't want you to have a release clause. I want a release clause. We don't want you to have a release clause. Okay, we'll give you a release clause, but you're not allowed to have it for 5 years. We're going to give you a lot of money. We're going to backdate your pay to the start of the season. So, like, it's not even a signing bonus. It's just wages in lieu of, like, £3 million from the start of the season. I was like, I don't know how to feel about it because it's like, it's a crazy contract. Let's say he doesn't command the prices, release clauses.
That's the thing.
Given in 5 years' time. What happens then?
I've never seen anything like that in football. You know,
very weird.
It's not even because I mean we've seen it a good bit with Chelsea, the 8-9 year contract, release clause that starts in 5 years. Who's to say what Haaland will be in 5 years? Exactly. He'll be 29 in 5. 4 years. It's actually 4 years now. It's 2025.
Yeah,
it's 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. Sorry, 4 years. Yeah.
Who's to say what he will be in 4 years?
No, that's true.
Like, you know, he'll be nearly 30. I mean, you never know. Like, you know, he's a talented player. You expect that talented players will, but you never know in football. And then you might get to that point, and that release clause is looking a bit funny.
Yeah, and then it's the thing of, okay, well, if they want to sell him and he wants to leave, it's like, okay, you're under contract, so it's either you have to break your contract or you need to persuade another club to want to come and do dealings with us for in or around the release clause.
And you know what happens with some players? I think this happened with Fabregas when he left Arsenal. Some players will contribute towards paying their own release clause
because they
they really want to leave that bad.
True.
So, you know, that's probably what would have to happen if Haaland himself ever wanted to leave.
He's on 500k a week. If he needs to do it, he has to do it. He's the one who signed the contract. I won't lie, yeah. I mean, 500k a week should be able to save enough to... I think another thing is crazy money. I really don't get it. It's crazy money. But what I was going to say is that it goes one of two ways when his release clause is not active. It's either he commands a higher price and City either just need to offer him a new deal and increase the release clause, or a team will come, pay the release clause and start dealing with him. But then he may also get to a point where I don't want to leave. So even if a club pays the release clause, you guys just give me the same contract, give me the same P's. Don't put a release clause in. I want to stay out the rest of my contract. But it's like a 34-year-old Haaland. We don't know where he's going to be in terms of like his headspace. Do I want to live the rest of my life in Manchester? Do I want to go somewhere else? You know what I mean?
I mean, he signed his life away. Like, I'll be real, like, he doesn't have much leverage. No matter any of these little things that must be in his contract, he doesn't have much leverage with a 9-year contract, especially the fact that he's taken the release clause away another 5 years. You know, I mean, he's betting on himself in a way. He's betting on himself that, you know, when in 2029, he's still going to be the player that he is now. You know, I mean, today's football, we're assuming that's a triple figure release clause. You know, sorry, triple as in triple in terms of millions. You know, that's actually 9 figures. But you know, just being accurate with the maths. But yeah, man, that is a crazy contract. I didn't think anyone would be able to come up with a crazier contract than what Chelsea have been pulling off the past couple of years. But hey, I mean, you know, you got your arguably one of your best players, you know, one of your top 2 players, arguably, you know, locked down for the next decade. I mean, can't complain from a City point of view. We're just kind of thinking, you know, from a player point of view, you know, where does the, you know, bits of leverage come in?
But then back to kind of like transfers with City, they've signed Kushanov from Lens. All these medicals still haven't taken place, which I don't understand because that was announced a week ago. 20-year-old centre back, I believe he's Hungarian, plays for Lens. I've seen a few of his clips. Yeah, he looks solid, but that's from clips. So we need to see how he adjusts to the Premier League. Can't remember the guy's first name, but I think his surname is Rice. Plays for Palmeiras or something like that. They signed him for about 40 million euro as well. 18-year-old centre back. The young ones are commanding a big price these days, but
to be fair, you guys need it because another like, you know, kind of an issue with City is that you guys are kind of getting old. Your best players, your key players are getting old.
I don't know if I want to say getting old though, because when I look at those 2 signings, those are 2 centre backs, right?
Yeah.
Our oldest centre back that is still that's pretty much in the setup is, I think Ake is maybe a year older than Diaz, but they're all 25, 26.
I swear Ake is nearly 30.
I might be wrong about that. I don't have my phone to double check.
I'm pretty sure Ake is nearly 30. And then Stones as well.
Stones is quite... Stones is not staying that squad for very long.
And Stones has had a lot of injuries as well.
Stones is not staying that squad very long. He struggles to stay fit, as you said. And that's the issue with him. He struggles to stay fit. When he's fit and he's firing, very, very, very good player. Very, very valuable player to any club, including City. But he struggles for fitness. And you struggle for fitness in a team like City. Going to move on without you. But they're reinforcements for the fact that City, people may not see it that way, but they do kind of have a centre-back problem. I can't lie. The centre-backs, the people that were signed as centre-backs, they're not playing as centre-backs again. Guardiola is a full-back.
No, Ake is a full-back now.
Ake is a full-back. Akanji, when Pep has the centre-backs he wants, Akanji plays as a full-back. It's weird, but I guess that's the way he plays now. But yeah, like Diaz is injured. That's a huge blow. I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but that's a huge blow. Obviously, the Rodri problem is still very much there.
Apparent, yeah.
I don't know if he's planning to sign anybody to kind of like deputize that position for now.
You can't really. Like there's certain players, you know, you know, the whole replacement backup thing is a slightly flawed argument because there's some players you can't replace. Like, for example, you know, Arsenal right now, you know, we're not going to have Saka for until March. All we can do is make do. Now, we're a decent team, so we should be able to make do to a decent standard.
Yeah.
But there is no one in our squad who can replicate what Saka does. And it's the same thing with you guys for Rodri.
It's true.
It's just that you guys haven't, you know, we're only really starting our time without Saka, so still yet to see. But, you know, obviously the time without Rodri for you guys hasn't been good at all.
Yeah. And then lastly, for transfers with City, Marmoush, Frankfurt attacker, I would say, because my brother would say he plays the wing, he plays up front as well. I think that's also a very good signing in a place where maybe City have lacked a direct winger since signing Sterling. Up until they got Doku, obviously. Oscar Bob was looking promising, but then he
he was looking real good in preseason. Yeah, man. That was unfortunate.
He should be back soon though, so I'm monitoring that one. He should be back soon, so hopefully that will give us a boost as well. But Marmoush would definitely give us a boost because Bar Salah, he's posting the best numbers in Europe right now.
Okay. I think he has already 20 goals. I was seeing it today, 20 goals in outcomes.
I don't understand that. I really don't understand. Like, Salah in particular is just doing a madness this year.
I would like he's calmed down a little bit now, He's calmed down a little bit, since that certain picture, certain followers,
No, but you say since that picture, but like they played the day after, didn't
No,
they? What did
no,
he do?
okay,
Two goals, 2 assists.
okay. That was Leicester at home, like we
Still,
were like
it doesn't matter,
no,
bro. It doesn't matter.
that one is a miracle. Like you can't, picture won't do that one for you. Like, picture won't do that one for you. It's Leicester at home, like.
Now that you said Leicester, I know we're kind of bouncing all over the place. Isak 2 goals and 2 assists. Was it yesterday, 2 days ago?
2 goals and 1 assist. Yeah,
2 goals and
that
assist.
was against Wolves though.
That puts him up in terms of like consecutive Premier League games.
To 8 now.
He's on
8 now,
and that's level with Vardy's first one. And then I think
Vardy did another one for 8.
Vardy, I don't know if he did another one for 8, but he did.
Yeah, he did.
He's the one that has the record at 11.
Yeah.
I know Van Nistelrooy had a record at 9 and 10 as well.
Yeah.
And then there's one other person.
Vardy did another one for 8. I was seeing it yesterday.
Vardy, but I think there's someone else who did 8 as well. But I can't remember.
I think Henry did 7. I think.
Okay, maybe we'll not get too bogged down in it. But Vardy is in that twice. Van Nistelrooy is in that
twice as well.
And I don't put it past him.
I really don't put it past him. He's on an absolutely insane run of form right now. You know,
that's true. But yeah, what else do we need to talk about in terms of transfers? There's a lot going on.
Yeah, the thing with January is that there's always it's a lot of bubbling. It's a lot of bubbling, but it never really, a lot of stuff never really fully comes to the surface. Like even looking at kind of Arsenal right now, I mean, the big talk is that we need a striker or a forward. I personally don't think we need a striker as much as we need a forward, a new winger. I think a winger is something that we definitely need to get in this calendar year, whether it's this window or the summer window. Striker, my problem with the striker position is that it's a really important signing for this Arteta project, and no one really moves me 100% right now except Isak. And Newcastle are probably going to ask for upwards of 120 million for Isak.
Yeah, I mean, it's going up by like
it's each game, So I don't know, but in other news, a few days ago, it came out that we're pretty much almost completed the signing of Zubimendi, and he's going to arrive in the summer. I think that will be a really, really good signing, especially for Declan Rice, because I feel like Declan Rice has been a bit, all over the place this season. Not really in terms of his form. He always gives his best, but in terms of his, tactical, efficiency. Sometimes he's playing in the 6, sometimes he's playing in the 8. I think his best form for Arsenal was at the start of 2024 when we're winning, 5-0 away from home every single game. He had Jorginho next to him. Jorginho can do deep line playmaking, pass it around, spray the ball around, and then Rice can brighten. I've actually started watching a bit of NFL, and he can be something called a free safety. Basically, just let him do whatever he wants and clean up whatever he wants. Rice is kind of like an old school center midfielder. Declan Rice is best for Arsenal when you're letting him do whatever he wants, because he's that talented both defensively, attackingly. You can see him even with the corners as well. Who would have thought? I would have never thought when Declan Rice came to Arsenal that he'd start taking our corners, and at a very high efficient rate as well. So I mean, I think if Zubimendi can offer what Jorginho offered for Rice last season, then I think that would be a really top signing. Arteta's been looking at him for quite a while. They're saying that Zubimendi was about to go to Liverpool last year, but apparently there's rumors that Arteta said, just hold on for 1 year, we're coming to get you. So I mean, those usually sound. I remember seeing that tweet at the time, and I was just like, but I mean, I don't know. It looks like it may be true.
Yeah. But see, one thing that I would say though about the striker thing is I feel like that's something that Teta has kind of neglected, in my opinion. Anyways, it may not necessarily be a necessary thing for right now, but for that project, they need a striker.
I think we need a winger. I think we need a winger more than a striker.
My thing is, okay, if you say you need a winger, obviously Teta plays with three up top, so he plays with his right winger, his left winger, and his striker. Currently, Saka is Saka, so he's immovable there. We've tried Trossard on the left. We've tried Martinelli on the left. We've tried what's his name? Sterling is now here to deputize whenever
Somebody's injured, yeah.
someone's injured or somebody's not performing to the standard. But I feel, and then Gabby Jesus as well.
But I mean, he's gone ACL now.
Obviously, he's got his ACL done, unfortunately, again. But like, they haven't lacked the players, and I feel like it's just a thing of maybe you need to spend time individually with the person that you want to turn into your next winger, because it's not like they don't have players that can play that position. But I personally don't think they have players that can play the striker position. Havertz is probably, my opinion, slightly better out wide than he is up top.
Really?
That's just my opinion, because there are certain things that I'm looking at him, and it's not like he's a bad player. He's just not a striker. And the fact that Teta is continually forcing midfielders or wide players to play striker, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, it works for some teams where, okay, if they're missing that, like, say, for quite a few years, City didn't have an out-and-out striker after Aguero left.
Yeah.
But it's not like they knew that long-term we want to get a striker who's going to be the focal point of our attack.
My problem is, we can't afford to get this striker signing wrong. Like, we're not Chelsea, we're not United, we're not City. We don't have money to, throw away and then throw at it again and then throw at it again if we get it wrong. This striker signing, if we're going to be spending upwards of 70 to 80 million pounds on a striker, it has to bang. He has to score 25 goals and lead us to the Premier League or the Champions League, that's what we're expecting. Whatever we're expecting, it has to come. The fans won't accept any, halfway through the season he's only scored 6 goals, but his overall play has been great. Fans are not going to accept that.
They're not looking for that.
And because the way we've kind of, as a fan base, the way we've kind of like put this signing on a pedestal, on the kind of like mythical, it's like, it's this thing that's going to change our club, forever. It has to work out. So I do understand the hesitancy from, the higher ups at Arsenal.
See, my thing though is that it's not an exact science either. It's like you could take somebody who maybe doesn't look like they're going to be like that and ends up just having a brazy first season, and then their level kind of like goes up. And maybe they don't have such a great second season, but their level has shot up significantly since they signed. Or you could have a case where somebody who you expect to tick all the boxes just doesn't acclimatize well. So it's not an exact science in that sense, where you may think you have a world-class striker on your hands or somebody who is the next big thing, and then they end up not being what you expected them to. And is that really seen as a failure if, based on all the metrics and all of the scouting that they've done, and they've been monitoring this player for the last 5-6 years, and they're like, yeah, he's the one, and then it just doesn't work.
I understand that. I understand that it can go wrong. I'm just saying we can't afford for it to go wrong. At this particular moment where we are in our project, especially if we come out of the season with no Premier League, no Champions League. Maybe if we win one of those, maybe there's a little bit more leeway for, to have maybe one go and then have another go at it in a couple of years' time. But if we come out with nothing, there's some Arsenal fans that's already starting to get quite impatient. AFTV is starting to make a little bit of a rise again. If we do not get this striker signing right, I don't know. Look, I'm just hoping and assuming that we get it right. That's all I say.
No, here it's fair enough. I'm just trying to think if there are any other transfers that are of note.
Actually, did Barcelona ended up being able to register Olmo?
Yeah, that's.
But it's still not was it not just like a little thing they were able to, I think, register him for a couple of games, or what was the situation with that?
I think they're back to normal now, because Joan Laporta is just. I think I was saying it to my mom earlier. I think he's doing some sort of black magic or something like that, because I don't know how they're able to do this at this point. How they got so poor in the first place, I don't get. But to the point where they have enough money to buy a player, but they can't register him.
Exactly.
But Sha,
Barcelona probably deserves its own episode, to be honest. I don't know what they're doing over there, man.
they went through multiple different courts. This is no longer just football again. They're going to court to fight against this group have said they shouldn't be allowed to do this. The court rules against them, the court rules against them again, and then the court now rules in their favor. And it's like, okay, first of all, what changed? And then second of all, it's like, okay, they're back to 1-to-1 rule, which basically just means they can buy players and sell players as long as they're in like their own PSR and all of that other stuff that matters. Even though obviously over the last few years you can't say that they have been like that because they've had to pull economic. I've never heard in my life a football team pulling an economic or financial lever before. I don't know what that is.
They have to do all that just.
I don't know what that is.
Real Madrid a little bit as well, but not as much as Barcelona. And it's funny because I was just thinking, I seen it a couple months ago that back Barcelona were like the only big club in the whole world up until like 2006 or 2007 or something that didn't have a shirt sponsor. Their whole thing, if you go back and look at their retros,
it's true. They don't have a shirt sponsor.
No shirt sponsor. And that shirt sponsor brings in money. So I think it was some little romantic reason like, we don't want to be taking extra money where we don't need it, stuff like that.
Either way, they were self-sufficient at the time.
Yeah, exactly. And their first sponsor was UNICEF.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know the exact, financials, but you'd assume they're not taking too much money from a children's charity, So, like, to go from that to where, they have to, there was Spotify, they're advertising musicians, whether I think they rent out or lease out their stadium to do weddings, Like, that's crazy.
Like, to be fair, it's not uncommon. They're not the only club to do it, but like you would have a very, very special occasion for someone to be like. And then if you think about kind of like concerts and all of that stuff, we get every so often Wembley gets played by. Every so often Old Trafford gets played, to be fair. But every so often, as in like hardly ever, because there's always football going on.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. Barcelona, just as you said, they probably need the same way that Southampton need their own episode. Barcelona need their own episode. But yeah,
so, after that, a mad hat trick yesterday. After I think it's 21 games, Southampton have a grand total of 6 points.
Yeah, that's a story for
one win, 3 draws, 17 losses. That's a story for another day.
Yeah. Okay, I think we'll wrap up on that note.
Yeah.
That's an uncomfortable conversation for anybody. I won't lie. But thank you so much, guys, for bearing with us. I know you'll see like there was a pan out and a pan in, but we got that sorted, so that's all good. Thank you. If you got this far, please like, comment if you feel like, or maybe just comment even. Want to say
please do it. Please feel like it. Jokes, but please.
And subscribe and share if you've enjoyed it and you want to see more of this, of course. We appreciate all the support that we continually get from you guys. We really, really do appreciate it. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast or anywhere else, we appreciate you guys too. Again, links will be in the description of whatever platform you're listening or watching on for all the other platforms, and just to stay informed with our Instagram, the link tree, and all of that other stuff will be there as well. So I'll let Tans take us out.
One last thing, just if you're not already, do keep up to date with our TikTok. If you're not there already, we just post little clips of the episodes on TikTok, just to kind of like entice you maybe to watch the full episode, or just just to watch that little bit and get the little bit of information, nugget you might need for that day. So thank you guys, as he said, for making it to the end of the episode. We will see you guys maybe in a week or so, and peace.